The Galaxy S22 Ultra could be the most exciting Android phone of 2022. Building on the almost unmatched camera experience of this year's Samsung flagship, the next Ultra phone from Samsung is, it seems, basically going to be a next-gen Galaxy Note. We're going to dive into everything we know so far about the S22 Ultra, or Note 22 Ultra, or whatever this thing might be called. Take a sec to subscribe so you don't miss our Android 12 and Pixel 6 reviews coming soon, and we'll get started. So first, let's touch on the most recent visual leaks about this phone. These CAD renders come from OnLeaks, who usually has a pretty good track record with this kind of stuff. The S22 Ultra, shown here in this snazzy dark red colour, looks set to include just as many rear cameras as the S21 Ultra, only with one of two unusual rear camera module shapes depending on which prototype design Samsung goes for. Both of these possibilities are certainly unusual, whether you're looking at this P-shaped block or this split setup, and there's even some disagreement over whether Samsung could achieve this shape while also including a periscope telephoto camera. As for the cameras themselves, the main sensor looks to remain at 108 megapixels, not clear if this will be an upgraded sensor or the same Samsung HM3 used in this year's phones. Improved optical image stabilization is set to be included too though, along with continuous zoom for the S22 Ultra's two telephoto cameras. This should mean that before having to rely on hybrid or digital zoom, you'll get a little bit more extra optical zoom similar to a point-and-shoot camera, difference being, of course, all the extra lens movement here is done internally inside the phone. So now to the elephant in the room. The design we're seeing here in these renders is a lot more Galaxy Note than Galaxy S, with flat top and bottom walls making for a device that's kind of a mashup between the Note 20 Ultra and S21 Ultra. And that takes us to the most important new feature in the S22 Ultra, the built-in S Pen. While the S21 Ultra does support the S Pen, the pen has to be bought separately, and there's no way to dock it inside the device. Instead, you have to use one of these slightly clunky cases, which makes this already giant phone even more unwieldy. The return of the internal S Pen is a big deal for a whole bunch of reasons. It shows Samsung hasn't abandoned the idea of that built-in stylus after skipping over the Galaxy Note series in 2021, and it reveals that Samsung has finally come to the conclusion that it doesn't need the S Ultra and Note Ultra to coexist. Instead, it makes sense that you just have one product that does everything. Big screen, great cameras, and of course that built-in stylus. Also, if this thing is launching in January as rumoured, then the lack of a Note 21 this fall makes perfect sense. Now, originally the cancellation of the Note 21 was sort of blamed on the current global chip shortage, but I suspect the real reason is actually timing. Why launch a full Galaxy Note in late 2021 when the successor is just a few short months away? So there we have it, finally the Galaxy S and Galaxy Note lines are combining. And whatever brand name is used, the top-end Samsung phone will once again be a Note, even if it isn't technically called that. As for what the S Pen can do, there are a few clues from recent Samsung patent filings. The juiciest one that's been doing the rounds recently is the possibility of a tiny camera inside the pen. The earliest reports of this date back to a 2019 patent filing, and another one has reared its head online recently, kind of positioning the dockable S Pen as a replacement for the camera hole punch. Given the designs we're seeing here though with the traditional display cutout, this particular idea may have to wait for a future iteration of the Note. The S Pen slot could also tell us a few things about the size of battery we can expect in the S22 Ultra. Because the stylus silo has to take up space inside the body of the phone, I'd be really surprised if Samsung was able to increase the battery capacity this year, especially since, according to Chinese leaker Ice Universe, Samsung will also be upping the wired charging speeds to 45 watts. As you'll know if you watched our battery health video, there's a balance between internal space, battery capacity, and charging speeds, and so unless this phone is going to be truly gigantic, I would expect another 5000 mAh battery to be used in this phone. We can of course expect traditional spec upgrades across the board in the S22 Ultra. One thing in particular I'd be hoping for is more storage. The base model S22's 128GB is looking a little bit cramped. Another point of interest is going to be the breakdown of which countries get Samsung Exynos versus Qualcomm Snapdragon processors. The next generation Exynos 2200 is tipped to include graphics technology from PC giant AMD, making it the first chipset to bear the fruits of that partnership which began in 2019. Because of low yields, only a few markets might actually get the Exynos model, excluding South Korea. Traditionally, Samsung has used Exynos in Europe, the Middle East, and most parts of Asia. So could we see the US getting Exynos this year? That possibility is particularly interesting in light of recent benchmarks that actually rank the Exynos chip above the next-gen Snapdragon variant. Software is still a little bit of a mystery. We've already seen the recent One UI 4 beta that Samsung apparently won't be adopting much of Android 12's Material U design language, However, we could well see Samsung take a few extra months leading up to the S22's launch to include more of the dynamic colour scheme that we've seen in Android 12 on Google Pixel phones. Equally, it's possible Samsung will just continue to do its own thing. One UI already has a really strong design identity, and the company may decide not to upturn its entire design language just to fit in with Google's vision of Android. Really, I can see this one going either way. In any case, to see what Samsung's been cooking up in One UI 4 on the Galaxy S21 series, you'll definitely want to check out our recent hands-on video. Finally, the release date, and Samsung doesn't seem to have been deterred by the weaker sales performance of the S21 series. Just like its predecessor, the S22 looks set to release in January. There's even been some suggestion that the launch could come as soon as December, but I think that's probably a bit optimistic. In any case, a very early 2022 launch would once again see Samsung get out ahead of its competition, while also having the S22 arrive relatively soon after the iPhone 13. So that's what we know right now about the Galaxy S22 Ultra, or Note 22 Ultra, or S22 Note, or whatever this thing ends up being called. It's very clear this will be Samsung's biggest and most technically impressive phone for 2022, at least when it comes to a traditional device that doesn't fold in half or have multiple screens. Let us know what you think of the S22 Ultra down in the comments. Are you ready to once again wield the S Pen, or does Samsung need more than just another big screen phone? Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.